this is BioPhoenix here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a game known as Maximum Carnage, or the full title is Spider-Man and Venom in Maximum Carnage, but we'll just say Maximum Carnage just because it's, so much easier to say. And, well, it's a Spider-Man game, and it's not the first Spider-Man game that ever came out, but it's the first one that I'm going to take a look at. Also, it's the first Spider-Man game that I've ever played, so there you go. And it was developed by Software Creations and published by LJN.
Oh man, burn it with fire, burn it with fire! I hate that goddamn rainbow.
Okay, now to be serious, yes. Now don't start jumping into conclusions just yet. We'll get there when we'll get there. And it was released in 1994. And you can get it on the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, but the one I'm taking a look at is the Super Nintendo one, which I happen to own a copy of it. And yes, the bright red cartridge is pretty nice looking. The only other game I know of that also comes in red is Doom. But I do have a Super Nintendo game that does come in black, and that is Killer Instinct. I always find these different colored cartridges always look really cool to me. But anyways, this is a beat 'em up game kinda similar to Final Fight. And here is the story. It's loosely based on the comic book series of Spider-Man called Maximum Carnage, as you would suspect. And I have read one of the issues within Maximum Carnage, and from what I remember of it, it's based on the character Carnage, who is just, causing carnage around the city. But he's not the only one that's doing it. It's also a bunch of other villains such as Doubleganger, Shriek, and Demogoblin, although there are a few other ones, but I'll just leave it at there. So while they are causing havoc around the city, Spider-Man, as strong as he is, can't do it on his own, so therefore he has to make an alliance with many people as he can, one of them being Venom, which is someone that you would not suspect to be teaming up with Spider-Man, but in this case, it all worked out perfectly. Other characters that are in the alliance are Captain America, Black Cat, and Cloak and Dagger, and there are many others. Although it is unfortunate you can't use all of these people, you can only use Spider-Man and Venom, but they can help you out at random times, but I don't know exactly how it works. But I have heard that you have to be certain characters and discover certain secrets within the level, which is kind of interesting, but kind of cryptic at the same time. But what I do like about this story, even though it is only loosely based off the comics, is that they actually do have comic panels that do look pretty good. But then again, the story for a beat 'em up game is not meant to be like super duper in-depth. But for what it does show, I'd say it's at least alright. Now as for the gameplay itself, yes, like I've already said, it's a beat 'em up, and it does not get any more complicated than that. But like I said, there are some secrets that you can find by climbing up the walls of certain buildings. You can find like health power-ups and 1-ups. And at the end of each stage, you fight a boss and then it's on to the next round. And at first you start off as only playing as Spider-Man, but when you get to a certain point, you can either continue as playing Spider-Man or you can do Venom's route, which is completely different. Well, it's not all entirely different, but there are some different maps that you play only as Venom. Now as for the controls, I think they work pretty well. I mean, everything is pretty easy and simple and self-explanatory. You punch, you jump, you web sling people, and you can block by using a web shield. Also, you can land criticals at times, but it's pretty random. Also, there are certain moves that you can do to hit people that are coming around you, but I can never figure out exactly how to do it, but I just move around the D-pad while punching and it'll just do it sometimes. But other than that, the controls work really well, and I don't have any complaints whatsoever. Very simple and very easy for the most part. Now as for the graphics, I'd say the graphics are really nice looking, not just like the comic book cutscene parts, but even like the actual gameplay graphics. It's bright and colorful, just like you would suspect from a comic book. So I really have no complaints about that, so overall, graphics are good. Now as for the music, this is a pretty interesting one, I will say the least. Most of the music within this game is done by a band called Green Jelly, and one of the songs sounds almost like Black Sabbath's Mob Rules, which, well, that fucking rules. So with that being said, yes, the music is actually pretty fucking awesome. And it's not just because of the Black Sabbath reference, it's also because, well, it just sounds really good. So really, I have no complaints at all with it. It's just really awesome, and I really like it a lot. And I will have to say that this game may sound easy, but oh man, this game is pretty tough. I find the parts where you're climbing up the walls can be really annoying sometimes. Even when they show you the area where the attack is going to come from, you still manage to get hit sometimes, but you always have to try your best to not get hit. Meaning you have to do it really fast and with precision. And some of the bosses can be pretty tough, especially these umbrella guys. I don't even know why they're so fucking hard. And the character Shriek can be annoying at times because she uses a projectile. So at least this game does have a good challenge. And it also doesn't help that you don't get many continues. But that's why in a game like this, you just gotta be careful. Even though I know it's really hard to not be careful, but that's just what you gotta do. Now, if you want to buy this game, it's gonna cost up to $20 to $35. And if I remember correctly, I think I paid $30 for this game, if I remember right. Which may seem kind of a lot for just a random game like this. But if I'd say so myself, it's actually pretty fun. Now for me personally, I didn't mind paying the $30 I paid for this game, but just be careful to make sure you don't overpay that much though, because I see like a bunch of complete and box copies that can go up for a lot, but I can understand those ones being a lot more because they have the box and the manual. But as for a loose cart, I'd say $20 is definitely your best bet, but any cheaper would be perfect. Now, if I had to rate this game, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. It's definitely a fun beat-em-up game. Now, it may not be the best beat-em-up game that you'll ever play, but it's definitely a fun one. And I heard there's a lot of people or sites out there that gave this game a pretty bad rep by giving it like a 5 out of 10, a 4 out of 10, and hell, even one magazine gave it like one of the worst games of 1994. And personally, I don't think it's that bad at all. In fact, it's very playable. And sure, it's pretty simple, and it can be really tough at times. But for a game based off of Spider-Man, I think it's definitely a good one. Now, one thing I would add to this game to make it even better is co-op. Although I heard there is one game out there that came out a year after this one called Separation Anxiety, but I never played that one, so I can't really say too much about it, but that's what I heard about it. Either way, I still enjoy this game. Hell, even as a kid when I first rented this game, I loved it. It was actually like the best Spider-Man game I ever played at that time. The only other Spider-Man game I did play around that time was the one on the N64, but I'll get into that one some other day. But as for now, yes, this is definitely a fun beat-em-up, and yes, oh my god guys, it's an LJN game that's actually fun! And as I said in the past before is that, yes, there are some games from LJN that do happen to suck, and there are some that don't suck, and this one does not suck. But I think the whole LJN joke is maybe a bit overused, so really, I don't know what else to say from now on, but what I will say is that this review is pretty much over. So I hope you enjoyed this review, thanks for watching and commenting.